Hello, friends, and welcome to What the Fringe, the podcast dedicated to all things Fringe theater. I'm your host, Lauren Hance. Each week, I visit with a Fringe artist to hear all about their endeavors and gain insight into their process. This week, I'm visiting with Annabelle Mastin-Lee of Mobius Industries. Mobius is a PR and marketing agency based in London and working across the UK and around the globe. Founded in 2003, Mobius specializes in theater, dance, circus, festivals, and cultural projects of all kinds. From West End productions in major venues to first-time producers, Edinburgh Fringe debuts, and work made in communities far from the bright lights. Mobius started with a simple question: why do so many brilliant shows fail to find their audience? Not because the work isn't good, because nobody knows it exists. And now, 20 years later, Mobius has a roster of clients, including long-term venue and festival partners, mid-tour companies who need to hit the ground running, and emerging artists taking their first work to the Fringe. Mobius is committed to working with companies that champion diverse voices, support emerging artists, and take bold work to audiences beyond their obvious venues.
In my mind, it always slightly frustrates me when people don't see the value in those smaller publications, because for me, they are the bread and butter of Fringe. They're who are coming in numbers, and you know that they're just so passionate about what they do. The amount of smaller bloggers who I know who genuinely have full-time jobs. I know some who are literally in nurse training and spend their evenings writing Q&As, organising their reviewers to come to shows and publishing the reviews. I mean, they're absolute stars, and I think they absolutely should be getting all the recognition that they deserve.
Annabelle Mastin-Lee has worked in theater and arts PR for over 6 years with Mobius after previously working at the post-TV production house Clear Cut Pictures. During this time, she has represented clients including Ad Infinitum, ATG Productions, Chloe and Natasha, Recent Cutbacks, and The Egg at Theatre Royal Bath. Since 2022, Annabelle has been one of Mobius's core client leads at the Edinburgh Fringe, where she's known as a keen networker who delivers high-quality campaigns. For the first time, Annabelle headed over to Adelaide Fringe this past February as a honeypot delegate and PR representative of Dutch Kills and Hannah Maxwell. Annabelle, welcome to What the Fringe!
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. We've been email buddies for a couple of years. We really got connected because one of your clients was on the podcast, Kimberly Prentice, who did Unseen a couple years ago. And I remember her going, send my stuff to my PR agent. I was like, oh, okay. And then we just have been in touch. You've really helped out with my World Fringe Day, gotten to know a lot of your clients, have had them on the podcast. And it's just all because of these little networking bits. And so here we are.
We are. And I think that's the funny thing with the fact that Kimberly kind of gave me your details. And of course, part of that job, we're always looking for more media outreach. So of course, then you're then on our roster for life. You'll never get rid of me. I will pitch to you till the bitter end.
That makes me happy because you can't get rid of me either. So we're friends. Well, and I love this little story because you were in Adelaide and so was I this year. And I saw you sitting at a bench eating a sandwich. You were by yourself. And I was like, that girl looks like she'd be a good fit for my show. And I started to flyer you and you stopped me and you were like, Lauren. And I was like, Annabelle.
We finally met in the flesh.
I know. It was so good because we've just been mostly corresponding via email. And so we got to hang out a little bit there. And it was just really lovely to get to know you. And I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. What are the chances as well of that happening? And then we end up going to the same show. But that's such a Fringe thing, isn't it? Just you bump into one person, you'll see them every day, you'll be in the same places. It looks like you're stalking each other. It's great. I love that Fringe community.
I do too. It's so good. Well, in talking about the Fringe community, part of the reason I wanted to have you on here is because I think PR and marketing is really integral to the Fringe ecosystem as far as our larger festivals go. And we're going to kind of get into that in a bit. But that's why I have you here and to kind of demystify what PR is in the Fringe scene. And then, of course, giving people those ideas of beyond Fringe and what does that look like? And that there are actually organizations out there who specialize in Fringe shows and then taking you beyond Fringe. which is really exciting because I haven't run into a lot of agencies like that. So it's nice to know you're out there.
Thank you. And yeah, such a privilege to be able to spotlight that because it is such unknown territory. And until someone gets in touch to ask about it as well, it's not known. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, let's first start just a little bit of background as your journey as an artist. And I would absolutely call you an artist. I don't know if you call yourself that, but as a kid, were you into theater? Were you into performing, or were you one of those little social butterflies? And what kind of skills do you use today that you can look back and go, oh, I've always been doing this?
Sort of a mixture of all of that. I have always been into theatre. My dad as well actually performed at the Edinburgh Fringe when he was at university. He was actually at Oxford with Richard Curtis. Rowan Atkinson came to his 21st birthday. So the creators of Blackadder, he was actually with them at the Edinburgh Fringe 50 odd years ago. So I think even just from a young age, we were just so encouraged to act and be creative. So me and my brothers every summer put on a show that we would create and perform for our parents and neighbours. So from a very young age, they let us just sort of blossom into little thespians. They taught us how to open Prosecco from the age of 10 and go around their garden parties, topping everyone up. So very much the social butterfly. I make a mean gin and tonic from the age of 12. So we were always encouraged to just be ourselves and socialise and be creative, which very much led into at school. I was in every theatre production every term. I did Lambda, always got distinction. So yes, I was not bad. And then I actually did theatre and performance at Warwick University as well, which it was very much more the social, cultural, historical, political context of plays, so very much humanity, essay-based. But we really got to do, playwriting courses, and I joined the drama group as well. So theatre's always been a massive part of my life, for sure. After university, my first job was actually just as a runner and then receptionist for a post-TV production company. Did that for about 6 or 7 months, and then this incredible job came up at Mobius as the comms assistant. Hilariously, though, I got offered the job March 2020, 6 days before every theatre in the world closed. And so brand new to the job, I'd already handed in my notice to my previous one. That happened. And you know what I love about Mobius, and it just screams sort of boutique comms agency, is, I called them up and I said, I completely understand if you can't take me on because there is no work for us to do at the moment. But you know what? Mobius kept me on. I did 2 hours of work a week. I didn't meet any of them in person for the first year and a half of working with them. So it was a lot. It's just such a lovely little group. We've actually grown quite a lot since then. That was 6 years ago. There's 9 of us full time now. And then we work with a couple of amazing freelancers every now and then as well. So yeah, long story short, I joined Mobius in 2020 and I've been with them ever since, rising through the ranks. So I started obviously as a comms assistant across marketing and PR. And then now I'm one of the Edinburgh core leads, and I'm a client PR manager now as well. So it's just really lovely to have that evolution and growth, and they really put their trust in you as well.
Yeah. I've worked with PR agencies here in Texas, and they just don't understand the performing arts. And maybe I probably haven't reached out to the right ones, right? But they're great. They're lovely, wonderful. But just to hear your history, you've been devising since you were 4 or 5 years old, and that you understand what it is that we do on just a molecular level. And so we don't have to start from scratch of like, this is what I do. This is the genre. Like, you're just always having to explain to an agency what it is that you do. And it takes up so much time, and just that they don't have to do that with you is invaluable.
Exactly. And I think as well, because we are specifically an arts comms agency, this is our bread and butter. It's what we're actually passionate about. It's not doing a random brand PR for the sake of it. It really is special. And, different members of our team, even some have performed and taken their own shows to Fringe. And so very much have that background. One of our freelancers is also a producer, so can come at it with that hat on. It's just great to have this sort of hive mind as well of people with different rich backgrounds, but within the arts industry. And it really helps. And we are really a team who bounce ideas off each other. We do weekly brainstorms on each other's projects. It really does feel like we've got each other's backs, which I love.
Yeah, that's just very, very exciting to me. I don't know how many other PR firms there are that specialize like this? I know of a few others.
There are some absolute powerhouse ones. We are in very good company, and especially for things like Edinburgh Fringe. We're very lucky, I think, here in the UK that there are some fantastic fringe specific PR agencies.
Yeah, because it is such a niche market. It's this bizarre little market. And there's a lot, like in New York, of course, you're going to have those PR ad agencies and that are, used to working with theater, but just fringe is like, what is that?
100%. And that's why it's been so nice. I've now run 2 campaigns in New York, which is fantastic, both at Soho Playhouse on their Fringe Encore series. And it is such a different landscape. And I had the pleasure, as you mentioned, going to Adelaide. All 3 media landscapes are so different. But I would say it just takes one go, really learn that, and you talk to the journalists as well, and you get their experience, and you can kind of adapt and evolve. And yeah, I would say American journalists definitely, I guess I don't know them as well, so that's part of it, but I feel like they were uneasy when I was first in their inbox, and they kind of wanted to book them through the venue rather than me. But now I've done it again, they're very much fine to book through me, but it's like just a slightly different approach, which I find really interesting.
Oh my gosh, I mean, I could talk about that forever, which is very interesting because New York is its own thing, and I haven't produced a show there yet, so I don't know like kind of that landscape and how that works, but I know it's its whole own animal. But then the rest of the US, I find we have just trouble with media reviewing theater in general, and then to get them to review Fringe is just like, what? And I don't want to get in the weeds about that. But I do want to ask this question. We'll kind of switch gears just a little bit. I love Fringe because it's all new work. I love the types of artists that are drawn to Fringe. And so I'd love to hear from you. What is the best thing about working with Fringe artists and working in the Fringe scene?
I think it's just that, and I was going to say on your last point about people not wanting to review Fringe theatre, for me, why wouldn't you? The beauty of seeing something like brand new and out there, and like people who are trying to explore new ways of doing things, experimental theatre in Fringe as well. For me, it's just the abundance of talent and just these subject matters getting explored for like the very first time, being able to be involved in just like a stepping stone of that in its conception. I think that is just absolutely fantastic. And being involved with people from that first show, I mean, I'll give recent cutbacks from New York as an amazing example. We repped them on their first year at Fringe when they did Hold On To Your Butts, and to see it then sell out and do so well. And then we did their second year where they had Fly You Fools and Hold On To Your Butts, and both sold out. And now we're doing their third year. Just being part of that journey, it makes us really proud as a company to be involved in that, and being able to just scream about them and be passionate about them, I think is definitely one of my highlights, because I get to see so much incredible theatre. Walking around Edinburgh Fringe, I cannot help but just like, maybe I'm on, the brink of exhaustion, but I will just find myself grinning like an idiot, because like, how is this my life? How is this my career, that I get to do something that I love so much? And I can get really just enthusiastic about the people I work with as well.
It just makes my heart happy just to hear someone who loves the art so much, understands it, wanting to be a champion for artists. It's very, very exciting. Well, let's move into talking about PR agents. So what exactly does a PR agent do? Because so many fringers, if they have not been to Edinburgh, and even a few people use them in Adelaide, but the rest of like the fringe world is kind of unknown. And going to Edinburgh, do we need one? Do we not need one? But what do you do?
And that is such a good question. And I feel like it evolves all the time as well. I think it's so interesting to see how, I think everything with technology and social media really does ramp things up a bit, and there's a lot of blurred lines. So I think part of what PR is, it's about cutting through the noise. And although we're a comms agency all year round, so we do tours, we do, 4-week runs at places like Soho Theatre and Park Theatre. When it comes to Edinburgh Fringe, when you have a whopping 3,700 shows and you're trying to break through that with the people that you're representing, it can be a bit of a minefield. So it's about having strategy in place, and especially Mobius is such a well-oiled machine. We've been doing Edinburgh Fringe since 2004. So it's about representing, it's about promoting, and it's about cutting through that noise. So basically, I can sort of run through what that looks like in terms of pitching. We're very bespoke in everything that we do. We feel like we know the media landscape really well, especially in the UK, because it's something we do all year round, which means we have the beauty of regularly, we're pretty much in these people's inboxes 200 days of the year as it is. So it means we're trusted. They know us well. They see us at press nights. We grab a drink. We grab a coffee. We're people that they know and they trust. We also meet up before Edinburgh Fringe as well, and we go for coffees with these fantastic journalists and we chat through our roster. I think such a big part of PR for Edinburgh Fringe is understanding the theme landscape of the year as well. There will be certain themes that are hot that year, and you want to pull those out and see which ones of your shows can then fit within those themes. We also actually are really collaborative with other PR agencies. So we have this WhatsApp, and we actually make like a spreadsheet of themes on the WhatsApp group. If someone says, oh, I have 2 shows covering this subject matter, but we always say 3's the charm in PR and getting press attention, then we're trying to, see what others fit in. So I think that's a huge part of it as well, of cutting through that noise. It's about that familiarity that we have with the media landscape, which I think really helps. It's our understanding of how to market. Well, funny that I even used the word market your show, because we're not marketing. My point was promoting your show. The whole point is there's such a difference between marketing copy and press copy. In a press release, we're really avoiding emotive language and stuff that's meant to appeal to audiences. A journalist doesn't want to be told that they're going to bawl their eyes out, or this is going to be the most unique show that you see this year, because a journalist is thinking, no, I'll be the judge of that. I'm the critic here. And so our press releases are very much focusing on those key messages and angles. I'm sometimes surprised with artists. They have an incredible show and they can't always tell me what those key themes are. And so you kind of have to talk it through with them, and then you're like, okay, well then I think, identity and mental health and, things like that. And so you're really trying to come up with those key messages and angles with them. And then when you're writing that press release, you're just trying to sell the show in the best way possible, but keep it really succinct. We say no more than 2 pages for a press release, and that includes all the listings, the biographies, because journalists are reading hundreds of these a day. So coming up with the press materials is huge. We're always giving advice on assets as well, promotional images. We want good, glossy, high-res images always. And I think within that, that's where consultancy is such a big thing as well. While, yes, my specialty is press, I've been doing this long enough where I can give advice on what a good show graphic looks like, or, what a good promotional image looks like, because I can pull out from the last 5 years in my head which one of our shows did really well in, the top 50 shows to see, for example. The beauty as well of being a comms agency, where we also have an in-house marketing and distribution department, is we can get them involved as well. So for Fringe, we give a lot of advice, and we can actually take the outdoor advertising off their hands because we have those contacts and that knowledge as well. So in a roundabout way, I think cutting through the noise, writing a really good press release, having those incredible contacts within the media landscape, knowing them very well, and being able to consult on as much as possible. We very much have an open inbox policy. We're not avid clock watchers. We just want to help in any way we can, if we can.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I've worked with you guys on the marketing end. So PR is getting those what's hot, what are you going to watch, and getting reviewers in and getting in our articles in publications. And then the marketing is looking at where are your posters going, how are your flyers going out. And then it sounds like all of you are helping, like, let's make sure we have a good hero image. Let's make sure the copy is correct depending on which, where you're publishing this information. So it's kind of going hand in hand, says PR is not marketing.
I personally don't think you could do one really without the other, because when you're promoting the show and you're looking at previews, interviews, broadcast, reviews, especially with reviews, if we're doing a joint campaign with PR and marketing, the first people we're looping in with the client is the marketing team with all of those pull quotes and stars, because that immediately needs to go go into the marketing and social media as well. I think on that side of marketing, you want to be really utilizing your platforms with all of this incredible coverage and tag as many people as possible, which again is more of a marketing thing, but I know that it always will generate more engagement.
Yeah. So would you advise tagging those publications that you're interested in reviewing, or are you tagging them after they review you or after you've kind of had an interaction with them when you're looking at that social media landscape?
Yeah, I think it's as well, if you can find the handles of journalists and the publication itself, if you've been included in it, definitely, why not include their handles if you're resharing content that they've published on you? Just because it's quite nice, it can forge new relationships, but it's also, you never know who's going to reshare stories on Instagram and things like that. But for me, I think I meant more with handles is if you're in, for example, like the top 20 shows to see, or within your Q&A, you've also mentioned a few artists that you're also really excited to see at Fringe. By adding in their handles and that they're definitely going to reshare that, you're then reaching all of their audiences. And especially if you're looking at like-minded shows, to be able to then, kind of cross-collaborate on that, it's just super helpful.
Right. That is super wise advice that I don't see to be honest, a ton of, because I've been mostly in North America. And so, the coverage isn't as great, but that collaboration is really lovely. And I started to see that, I did some like top shows to see at Adelaide, like through the podcast, and that started to get a lot of traction. I put it on the blog and that got a ton of views, which was really cool. It helps me out as well, and then helps them get seen and get that recognition. Okay, answer this, because I always tell people, like, I'm a pretty small outfit here, right? I'm growing. Still, I reviewed your show. I'm going to give you a pull quote. Or if I put you on a top 10 list, I kind of like to tell artists, in some ways it matters. Like, right, if the Scotsman comes, yes, that matters. But also if smaller publications come, I think a lot of people don't really care that much. But if you get a 5-star review or you get a really great pull quote, kind of talk to me about the difference between those big publications versus smaller publications.
In my mind, it always slightly frustrates me when people don't see the value in those smaller publications, because for me, they are the bread and butter of Fringe. They're who are coming in numbers. And that they're just so passionate about what they do. The amount of smaller bloggers who I know who genuinely have full-time jobs. I know some who are literally in like nurse training and spend their evenings writing Q&As, organizing their reviewers to come to shows and publishing the reviews. I mean, they're absolute stars, and I think they absolutely should be getting all the recognition that they deserve, because I think they're fantastic. And seeing so many of them at Fringe, and they're looking then for local Scottish, based writers, some of which will be 18, 19, still at university, who potentially want to be critics when maybe they want to be at a national when they grow up. But until then, starting at some of these fantastic smaller publications is the perfect place to start.
We all have to start somewhere. And I get excited when I start to see them using my quotes, and I'm like, thank you. I'm doing this for you. I'm giving you this. It's not a full length review because I'm an artist as well. I don't like to mesh that. So I like to focus on what's working, but it means I'm going to give you a pull quote. If you look hard enough, I will give you something. And somebody put it out the other day. They posted something, and I don't even know if they tagged me, but I saw it and I repost it. Like I share it.
Interesting, in the UK, it was only, I would say maybe in the last year or two, where we have some fantastic publications which are definitely growing, and they're doing fantastic, and they've been around for a long time. And, they finally had big star quotes like outside a West End theatre, and it was huge for them. And you could tell how much it meant to them as well. And it's just, it's so lovely. So for me, it's just as important. And it kind of was going to feed into advice for Fringe goers. Treat every opportunity like it's gold dust, because a lot of those smaller blogs are the ones that do, I don't even want to call them smaller blogs, just a great theatre blogs. They have a lot of great Q&A opportunities every year on the lead up to Fringe. And so really creating that buzz and like to platform your show, they're so important, because you can end up with, 4 or 5 fantastic interviews that we're always pitching for. But you see some people, when you look at them all published online, some people are just copy and pasting like show copy. I completely understand on the lead up to Fringe, people are so busy, but we've had it before where someone's written just one of the best interviews ever. And then, you know, the editor of Broadway World's like, right, book me in straight away to come and review. So it's like, you never know who's going to be reading it, who's going to be inspired by it, and then book in for your show. So no matter what the opportunity is, just treat it like it is that biggest piece of coverage you could get, because then you can use that on your social media. Because so many people will use their one show image or a couple of show images and their grid looks very much just sort of that. If you can do, you know, snippets of the top 20 shows to see it from Theatre Weekly that you've been included in, or that fantastic interview you had on Quintessential Review, that kind of thing. You've got so much different stuff that you're creating noise and buzz, and you're starting to cut through.
Yeah, that's really, really great advice. And I mean, I'm sure as a PR agent, you understand, like you were saying, there's these kids that are coming in 19, you know, they're in uni, and you're building a relationship. If they've got a, you know, like my outfit, like it's growing, right? And I'm building relationships with people, and you never know where that person is going, what they're doing next, what's on their radar, and how, you know, you can get connected and how you'll be able to help each other in the future and work together. And building those relationships are so important. I was so impressed when Chloe and Natasha, that was how I got to know them, was they applied for World Fringe Day. I think at that point they were a 2-time Scotsman Fringe first. And I was like, what are you doing being on my podcast? And then they were like, we never turned down an opportunity to do anything. And I was like, y'all rock. You guys are so great.
Yeah, so that was, again, because we'd already been connected. You sent me your fantastic form, and you even gave me like slightly early bird access, which was really nice and kind of you. And so I sent it to our artists. I think back then as well, I thought you were only doing American artists, because 2 years ago. So I focused very much on our US artists. Well, now, obviously, last year we really grew that. You spoke to some of Ollie Matheson. I know you love Butterfly That Flew Into the Rave and all of these. And it's great. And seeing you go global, going to Adelaide, doing a whole Adelaide series. But one, don't put yourself down by saying, I can't believe you're on my podcast, because of course they will be. You're the first like World Fringe podcast, aren't you?
I am. I'm the only one doing World Fringe. Like there's a handful of podcasts that will focus like on specifically on one Fringe, but I was like, how's there not this out there? So it's very exciting to have that kind of unique flair here.
Yeah, and giving other artists the platform, because, you know, obviously Edinburgh Fringe, I would say we are very lucky with the media, the variety that we have for Edinburgh Fringe. But there are so many fringes out there that, you know, it must be so much harder to cut through the noise. And you can so see that with smaller fringes. It's
really exciting, too. And I see some of the best art. I mean, we were saying this earlier, that I've ever seen in my life at Fringe. And even at these smaller Fringe festivals, especially the US, most of our festivals are quite small. Not all of them. Some of them are big. And artists are doing it because they love their art. And a lot of them are working full-time jobs. They're taking time off, or they're working remotely while they're doing their show. And they're there because they love it. And I think when you find an artist like that loves it, they're there because it's good. It's going to be good because they actually care. And so networking and doing all of that, it's always a lovely, wonderful, good thing, and giving recognition.
I would say one of my favorite things to do is pitch our shows in person, just because I think I'm a very passionate talker. And so I think you can really tell we don't just, you know, put anyone on our roster. We really do take time to have those sales calls and see who are the right fit. And we take such pride in what we do. And we have the absolute pleasure of working, you know, with some of the best. And with that, we get to be really passionate about then what we're representing, which I love.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot, and we'll do like a little pitch session to see, so people can like hear in action the value of a PR agent. So I'm media, right? And I'm looking for people to be on podcasts. So I've been doing best of lists, and then I review, and I mean, I do all kinds of little things. So you've got some shows that have already been announced for Edinburgh 2026. You know, let's say we run into each other at a cocktail. This is so weird. It's like improv. I'm like, we're at a cocktail party. What would you say? So pitch me one of your shows.
Well, I'll shout out a couple that have definitely been announced. I did have to check this because we've only done the second wave of obviously the venue announcements. We've got some fantastic people. I mean, we've got long-term sort of returning clients. So Dutch Kills are a company that we've worked with since 2019. They're bringing 4 shows this year, it's their most ambitious program yet. And they're all non-verbal, which means all of them are just gorgeously, universally accessible, no language barriers, amazing they're going to be fantastic. One of which we represented in Adelaide as well, Double Take, which was like a mime show. We got a really fun one with them called Noted, which is just bonkers. It's like 10:15 in the morning, but like it's a proper rave, feel good sort of type of show with like an insane amount of sort of paper that's used in creativity. It's fantastic. A really zen one, which will be actually an install in like a shipping container on Assembly Square Studios, which is called Channel, and it's like a sound bath meditation experience. It was known as the chillest show of Fringe last year, so would definitely check that out. And Peregrinations, which is a really exciting new work, actually delving into immigration, which I think is going to be super prominent with this incredible, beautiful mask wear that they're doing as well. So Dutch Kills, fantastic, New York based, another US client. Are absolute, returners, recent cutbacks. We're going to be doing our 3rd show with them this year, which controversially is a Christmas show in summer. It's a parody retelling of Home Alone called Kevin. It's going to be their most creative one yet. I mean, they're playing with perspective and different scale puppetry behind a green screen, and it looks like so much fun. Chloe and Natasha have got their 4th world premiere, which is very exciting, but they've moved to Summer Hall Arts this year, and they've got 2 exciting co-producers with Soho Theatre and Soho Playhouse, both the Sohos, looking at the UK and the American collaboration, which is really exciting. We've also, quite a few from Adelaide as well. The beauty, which never happens in PR, is I've seen the show before writing the press release, which is very exciting, and I've managed to meet them. So one's announced at the moment. You've got Daniel Nodder is doing Only Bones, which looks like so much fun. Their version is very sort of clowny and funny. They also did like a lot of research into quantum physics for this show, even though it's completely non-verbal, but they're looking at sort of the universe in like a microscopic way. So it's very exciting. So yeah, just a few of the ones we're working on, which is very exciting.
That's so exciting. So I'm familiar with actually a lot of those shows which is very exciting. And Daniel Nodler's, I listed that as one of my top 10 shows to see at Adelaide this year. I didn't get to see it because I had left by the time that they were performing, but I was super intrigued, which is really interesting because we were kind of talking about this before we went on air. Was like, so the things that you said to me were not necessarily what was in a press release. And talk to me kind of a little bit about the art of what you bring to the table as a PR agent that other people, you just can't do by yourself.
I mean, I think, it's so interesting how I would talk in real life to someone versus like what is written on a press release, which, as I say, we keep them so succinct, but we're really looking at those key messages and angles. I mean, take Bigfoot Ripped My Dog in Half, I Saw It, which is Chloe and Natasha's new work. It's really delving into, obviously, their kind of quintessential absurdist exploration, but it's really about conspiracy, misdirection, and mass distractions in a 90s Appalachian town, which sounds quite sort of proper, which it's probably not how I'd describe it in real life. But also it's the fact that for the first time ever, they're incorporating a 9-foot puppet, which is so exciting, which they're operating themselves, they've designed it themselves. So for me, like those sort of elements are what's going to kind of capture press attention. So it's, why is it relevant now? So obviously delving into local paranoia and conspiracy culture. I wonder what's happening in America right now, which means that's on the forefront of everyone's minds. So you've got something that's really relevant, but then you've got this fantastic little creative sort of addition, which everyone, especially in the fringe circuit here, media-wise, are very familiar with Chloe and Natasha's work. To then have that extra exciting element of a puppet for the first time, it's like this new fresh hook as well. That would be the difference between like a press release rather than in real life sort of as well, you never know who you're talking to. Not everyone will be familiar with all of these fantastic fringe artists. You're looking at almost like a different pool, I guess. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's really helpful just to hear you do that. Thanks for doing our little play that we did. Everything that you said sounded interesting to me. There were new things that I learned about the shows that I didn't know. Again, like I happen to be familiar with quite a few of those that you were pitching, which is great. And so it made me more excited about them. Like I don't want to miss that as someone that's in the media. And so that's really exciting. And I don't get that from a press release. And I feel like too, like I've been doing so much by myself, to have somebody else that's really excited about your work goes a long way with other people, and I love that you all are particular about who you take on so that you can be excited about that work. And that's authentic.
Completely. Especially when we do our pre-Edinburgh pitch trip, we go and we sit down with these journalists in Edinburgh, and we do the same in London. You're in front of them as well, and you pretty much pitch, each show for about a minute, and you're like really then finding out from them, and you're bouncing off each other. You've got to have that energy, and you've got to have that enthusiasm, because otherwise they'll know if you're not passionate about that. So of course, we want to just put our best foot forward always, really. And I think Mobius does do that really well. Mobius has always been known for a lot of doing international, wacky, the showcases. We like the weirdness. We like something that's just not quite normal. So I think we always do try and fill our roster with a lot of that, which is always fun.
That's awesome. Well, and even hearing that you guys go do a pitch session in May, I didn't even know that you did that. And if you don't hire somebody, it makes it a lot harder to cut, again, like you said, cut through that noise. So if your goals at Edinburgh, if your goal is just to perform, just to like have the experience, PR, may not be for you. But if you're looking for those reviews, you're looking to book at Soho, both Sohos, or you're looking to have something kind of beyond, it can be it sounds like really well worth the investment. I'm pitching for you now to hire a PR agent because of the things that come outside of just selling tickets to that festival. Yeah.
And I think as well, seeing so many of these incredible artists go on these full journeys where people like Dutch Kills, people like Recent Cutbacks, people like Chloe Natasha, Boxtail Soup are another fantastic company we've worked with who have been coming to the Edinburgh Fringe for now, I think they're on their 13th year. They're now proper stalwarts. They pretty much sell out, and they really have that kind of key audience who love coming to see them. But what they really want to be doing is platforming their show as well, because they then immediately go on an autumn tour with that show. So you really want those reviews, because although at Fringe, they've really got that, on tour, you want to be able to show off all of those 4 and 5 star reviews and pull quotes and really use them in your marketing packs as well for booking future venues, booking tours. It's so important.
Oh, so much to learn. It's so good. I could talk to you so much longer, and we're getting close to our time. So I'll head to my last question that I ask everybody. So I'm sure doing Fringe for so long and doing it in your backyard when you were 4, you've got an interesting or awkward Fringe interaction, fun little story you'd like to leave us with?
It was kind of a bit of both. It happened in the Summer Hall courtyard, which for everyone, the Summer Hall courtyard is just the best place to be for mingling, meeting people. It's just fantastic. I was in the Summer Hall courtyard after a show at the Roundabout 3 or 4 years ago, and I was with one of my colleagues, and we started chatting to Francesca Moody, who's obviously a fantastic producer who works with absolute powerhouses across Fringe. I was already quite starstruck with that, to be honest. And then who just strolls casually into the conversation but Phoebe Waller-Bridge herself, and I'm just freaking out. I continued what I was saying to Francesca, but with a kind of squeak in my voice. And then I kind of turn, and when the conversation naturally ends, Phoebe just, introduces herself, and I was like, oh, hi, yeah, didn't know, yeah, sure, yeah, my name's that, And it was just one of those things that it happens quite a lot, and you do get on with it. And there are some incredible people at Fringe. I had the same with Brian Cox last year. It's awesome to see these incredible people mixed in with the Fringe community. I still, to this day, do get a little bit sort of awkward and starstruck by it all.
Right? Absolutely. Well, Annabelle, thank you so much for joining me today on What the Fringe. It has been an absolute delight to connect with you and to hear all about how you contribute to the Fringe ecosystem. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mobius works on PR and marketing for both Edinburgh Fringe and Adelaide Fringe, as well as UK touring, off-Broadway New York transfers, and beyond. So if you think you need a PR agency for your next Fringe show, please, please, please reach out to Annabelle and reach out to Mobius Industries and get that conversation going. You can connect with Mobius Industries online at their website at mobiusindustries.com, and you can keep up with them on Instagram at Mobius Theater. You can keep up with Annabelle on Instagram at Annabelle M. Lee. What the Fringe is produced and hosted by me, Lauren Hantz. This episode was edited by Ben Ellis of Renowned Media, and those sweet tunes you hear are provided by Paul Snyder of Orchestra of Sound, and our logo was designed by Ruby Arnold of Ruby Makes Things. What the Fringe can be found on your favorite podcast platforms and now on YouTube. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know when new episodes release, and keep up with What the Fringe on Instagram at whatthefringe_productions, and find us online at whatthefringeproductions.com. When you get that unexpected 5-star review,
I will just find myself grinning like an idiot because, like, how is this my life?